Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing HFY stories. Hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest uploads. Max Jensen's morning was shaping up like any other. The 28-year-old software developer had a routine that rarely wavered: a short bus ride to downtown, a quick stop for his usual black coffee, and a brisk walk to the office where his dual monitors awaited his latest project code. This morning, however, the universe had decided to deviate from the norm. As the city bus trundled down the bustling streets of the city, passengers absorbed in their phones or lost in early morning contemplations, a sudden flash of bluish light interrupted the monotony. A sharp pop, like the sound of a bursting bubble, echoed through the vehicle, causing several passengers to startle from their seats. In the middle of the aisle, where just a moment before there had only been scuffed linoleum, stood a woman. Her appearance was striking, not just for the unexpected manner of her arrival, but for her distinct features: skin with a subtle glow, eyes a shade too bright, and hair that shimmered with an unnatural luster. Max, who had been mid-yawn, blinked several times, convincing himself he was awake. The woman looked around, her expression a mix of confusion and curiosity, her clothes oddly metallic and sleek against the mundane backdrop of the morning commuters. "I apologize for the disruption," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "My name is Zara. I seem to have miscalculated my coordinates slightly." The bus driver, a middle-aged man with an impressive handlebar mustache, stared at her through his rearview mirror. "Lady, I don't care where you're from, but you can't be popping in here like that. This ain't no magic show." Zara nodded, seemingly unfazed. "Understood. It will not happen again," she promised, finding a pole to steady herself as the bus resumed its route. Max, curiosity overcoming his initial shock, edged closer. "Where did you come from?" he whispered, aware of how odd his question sounded. "From Raxacoric," she began, then paused, a slight frown creasing her brow. "Actually, it's complicated. I'm here to observe and learn about Earth." "By teleporting into a city bus?" Max chuckled, finding the absurdity of the situation oddly entertaining. "It was unintentional. My device is still calibrating to Earth's coordinates and magnetic fields," Zara explained, patting a small device strapped to her wrist. The conversation was cut short as the bus reached Max's stop. He hesitated a moment before making an impulsive decision. "Look, do you have a place to stay? You seem a bit lost." Zara's eyes lit up, literally, adding a soft glow to her already luminous face. "I am, in fact, in need of a place to stay. I can compensate you with knowledge from my world, technologies beyond your current understanding." Intrigued and admittedly a bit reckless, Max nodded. "Okay, why not? I have a spare room you can use. Just, try to keep the teleporting to a minimum." "Agreed," Zara said, a smile playing on her lips. As they walked off the bus, Max felt the weight of his decision. He was now a host to an alien visitor, and his once predictable day had veered into uncharted territory. They made their way to his small apartment, a typical bachelor pad cluttered with tech gadgets and yesterday's pizza boxes. Upon entering, Zara looked around with an air of fascination. "Your technology is quaint," she remarked, her gaze lingering on the tangled mess of gaming consoles and VR equipment. "Yeah, well, it works for us," Max replied, feeling a defensive pride over his cherished tech. Zara nodded, her attention now on the spare room. "This will suffice wonderfully," she said as she placed her bag on the small bed. The bag itself seemed ordinary, but Max noticed it was emitting a soft hum, the fabric shimmering every time Zara moved. As Zara began to unpack, she pulled out gadgets that looked like they were straight out of a sci-fi movie. Each device had its own unique set of lights and sounds. Max watched, fascinated, as she explained their uses: a translator, a data aggregator, a miniature hologram projector. "I must also work on recalibrating my teleportation device. It won't do to disturb your public transportation system again," Zara added, her tone light but sincere. Max laughed. Yeah, that might be best. That evening, as Zara set up her alien technology in the spare room, Max prepared dinner, still processing the day's events. The normalcy of cooking spaghetti somehow balanced the surreal fact that an alien was recalibrating advanced technology just down the hall. As they sat down to eat, Max realized that despite the bizarre turn of events, he was looking forward to the stories Zara would share about her world. Perhaps, he thought, this unexpected roommate situation wouldn't be so bad after all. And so, with a plate of spaghetti between them, Max and Zara began to exchange stories, each learning about the other's world. It was the beginning of what promised to be one of the most interesting chapters of Max's life. The initial days of Zara's stay at Max's apartment unfolded like scenes from a sitcom with a cosmic twist. Every morning brought a new lesson in human customs for Zara, while each evening saw Max grappling with the concepts of an alien culture far advanced beyond Earth's present understanding. The adjustment was not without its mishaps. One morning, Max discovered Zara attempting to recharge her energy through the apartment's electrical system, by directly plugging herself into the wall socket with a bizarre contraption. The resulting short circuit knocked out the power in the entire building, leading to an awkward conversation with the building superintendent about faulty wiring. Zara, you can't just tap into the city grid. It's not built for whatever it is you're doing, Max explained, after apologizing to his suspicious neighbors. Zara nodded, her expression serious but her eyes twinkling with mischief. I have noted this, Max. I will procure my energy more discreetly, she promised, pulling out a small, solar-powered device from her bag that she explained could convert sunlight into edible energy bars. Max couldn't help but laugh. Just stick to regular food while you're here, okay? We have plenty, and it's already paid for. Very well. Your pizza is an interesting composite of nutrients, Zara agreed, although her tone suggested she was humoring him. As days turned into weeks, Zara adapted more to human life. She learned to cook simple dishes, though her attempts at using spices led to a few inedible creations. Max took it upon himself to introduce her to various cuisines, which Zara documented meticulously in her data aggregator, describing each flavor with scientific precision. Max introduced Zara to his friends one evening during a game night. The initial shock of her glowing skin was met with fascination once Max explained, in vague terms, that she was from very far away. Zara, in turn, was intrigued by the human concept of recreational games. It is a form of training, she queried as she watched a spirited round of charades. More like social bonding, Max clarified, impressed by her quick uptake in guessing the mimed actions. You use leisure to enhance group cohesion. Fascinating, Zara noted, her voice filled with genuine interest, which endeared her to Max's friends. However, not all was fun and games. As Zara's understanding of Earth grew, so did her concern for some of its challenges. She was particularly struck by the issues of pollution and resource depletion she read about online. Why do you not harness more from your star? You rely on combustibles that are finite, Zara questioned one night as they watched a documentary on renewable energy. Max sighed, it's politics and economics, things not even we fully understand or agree on. Change is slow, Zara. Zara seemed to ponder this, her brow furrowed. On Raxacoric, our transition was not voluntary. It was survival. Perhaps showing the benefits. Max smiled, maybe you can help with that while you're here. Encouraged by his supportive tone, Zara spent the following days compiling data from her world, examples of environmental technologies that she thought could be adapted to Earth. She presented her findings to Max, who was astounded by the simplicity and efficiency of some of the solutions. Maybe there's a way to introduce some of these ideas here, Max mused, growing excited about the potential. We could start small, maybe a community project. Zara was pleased, I would like that. I am here to observe and learn, but also to assist. It would be beneficial to apply practical demonstrations. Together, they planned a small community garden project, utilizing some of Zara's less alien-looking tech to improve water and soil quality. It was a hit in the neighborhood, drawing interest from local news outlets, which cautiously skirted around the true origin of the technology. Through it all, Max and Zara grew closer, not just as roommates, but as friends and collaborators. They spent evenings discussing the stars, with Zara pointing out constellations from her galaxy visible from Earth's skies, and Max sharing tales of Earth's explorers and inventors. It was during one of these nights, lying on the rooftop watching the stars, that Max realized how much Zara had changed his life. He felt a mix of gratitude and sadness, knowing that eventually, she would leave. "Zara, what will you do when your study is over? Will you go back?" Max asked, not hiding the concern in his voice. Zara turned to look at him, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the city lights. "I have been thinking about that, Max. There is much to be done here. With you, with this community. My planet is not the only place that needs help." Max smiled, feeling a surge of happiness at her words. "So, you'll stay a bit longer then?" "As long as I am welcome, and as long as there is pizza," Zara joked, her eyes twinkling with a now familiar joy. Max laughed, realizing that the universe's random disruption of his routine had led to one of the most profound friendships of his life. And as they sat there, the earth beneath them, the vast universe above, he felt a deep connection not just to Zara, but to the entire cosmos, bound together by unexpected encounters and shared discoveries. As the weeks rolled by, the relationship between Max and Zara deepened into a comfortable, yet continuously intriguing companionship. They shared meals, ideas, and even their personal histories, which brought with it revelations and understanding. Yet, beneath the surface of these exchanges, Zara harbored a secret that weighed heavily on her. One evening, as Max was clearing up after a dinner where they had experimented with making a hybrid dish combining earthly ingredients and raxacoric spices, he noticed Zara seemed unusually pensive. She was staring at her communicator, a device she had always kept personal and private, its screen flickering with strange symbols and graphs. "Everything okay?" Max asked, his voice tinged with concern as he approached her. Zara looked up, her expression unreadable for a moment before she sighed, a sound so human that it surprised them both. "Max, there is something I must disclose to you. I believe it is time." Curious and a bit anxious, Max sat down beside her. "What is it, Zara?" She took a deep breath, her glowing eyes fixed on his. "My mission on Earth isn't just about study and observation. I am also here because I am seeking asylum. My presence here, it is not just for research, it's also a form of exile." Max's eyes widened in shock. "Asylum? Exile? But why? You never mentioned anything about this before." Zara nodded, her fingers idly tracing the edge of her device. "I know, and I apologize for not being fully transparent. My planet, Raxacoric, is under the control of a governing body known as the Galactic Council. While they maintain order across multiple systems, their methods are often oppressive. My work, back home, involved developing technologies that were environmentally beneficial, but they threatened the profitability of the main energy corporations that the Council supports. So, they sent you away because of your work?" Max asked, trying to understand the gravity of her situation. "In a way, yes. I was given a choice, cease my research or leave. My experiments and findings were seized. Fearing for my safety and wishing to continue my work, I chose exile. Coming to Earth was my choice because it is outside the Council's immediate influence." Max took a moment to process the information. "And the communication on your device?" "It's my contact with a few trusted allies back home. We share information discreetly, but it's risky. If the Council ever discovered our communication, they could trace me here," Zara explained, a note of fear creeping into her voice for the first time. Max felt a surge of protectiveness. "We need to make sure that doesn't happen. What can we do?" Zara smiled weakly, appreciative of his support. For now, just continue as we are. Your acceptance to participate in the community projects has been invaluable. Not only does it help me integrate and mask my real purposes, but it also allows us to demonstrate the technologies that could have been suppressed on my world. Feeling a mix of anger at the injustices Zara faced and admiration for her courage, Max nodded. We'll figure this out together. Maybe we can find a way to get your message out on a larger scale, without the risk of being traced. That would be wonderful, Zara said, her spirit visibly lifted by Max's words. But we must be careful. Over the next few days, Max noticed a change in Zara's demeanor. She was more cautious, often checking her communication device for any signs of unusual activity. Despite the underlying tension, they continued their work on the community garden project, which was flourishing and becoming a model of sustainability. Meanwhile, Max started researching more about data security and encryption, contacting an old friend who specialized in cybersecurity. They devised a plan to secure Zara's communications using Earth-based encryption methods, which were unfamiliar and potentially untraceable by the Galactic Council standards. One afternoon, as they implemented the new security measures, Max asked Zara more about her planet and the Council. She shared stories of her home, a world of vast oceans and archipelagos, where technology and nature were deeply intertwined. She spoke of her family with longing, her parents who were scholars of marine biology, and her siblings who were scattered due to various assignments and missions. It's beautiful, Max said, imagining the alien seas and skies. And it's terrible that you had to leave it because you were trying to do something good. Zara nodded. It is. But I've found something valuable here too, she said, looking at Max with a fondness that crossed the vast distances of space. I found friendship, and a place to belong. That gives me hope. Max smiled, reaching out to squeeze her hand. You always have a place here, Zara. No matter what. As they continued to work together, weaving their lives and missions into a shared tapestry, they remained vigilant and hopeful. Max was committed to helping Zara, not just in adapting to Earth but in fighting for her cause, even if it was from light years away. Their bond, strengthened by secrets shared and burdens lightened, grew deeper, setting the stage for the challenges they would soon face together. The weeks that followed were a blend of progress and uncertainty. As Max and Zara worked on their community projects, the garden they had nurtured became a testament to successful collaboration between human innovation and alien technology. However, the undercurrent of fear regarding the Galactic Council's reach cast a shadow over their achievements. One crisp morning, as Max and Zara were preparing for a community workshop on sustainable urban farming, a black, unmarked sedan parked conspicuously across the street from Max's apartment caught their attention. Zara's reaction was immediate and visceral, her body tensed, and her eyes narrowed as she peeked through the curtains. Max, we may have a problem, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. What is it? Max asked, following her gaze to the suspicious vehicle. I'm not certain, but it could be agents from the Council. They have resources and reach, even here, Zara explained, her usual calm demeanor replaced by a palpable anxiety. Max's mind raced. What do we do? Should we leave? Not yet, Zara responded, pulling back from the window. Let's confirm their identities first. We need to be sure. Using a small, sophisticated device Zara had modified from her own technology, they managed to scan the vehicle discreetly. The results confirmed their worst fears. The car was equipped with technology that was distinctly similar to that used by the Galactic Council. We need to prepare to leave, Max. But we must be cautious. If they are indeed from the Council, they will expect us to flee, Zara said, her mind already strategizing their next moves. Max nodded, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and adrenaline. I have a friend, Casey, who lives out in the country. We can go there, it's remote and off the grid. Good, that will buy us some time, Zara agreed, quickly packing essentials into a backpack, her communicator, several of her devices, and some of the environmental sensors they had been using. As they readied themselves to leave, there was a sharp knock at the door. Max and Zara exchanged a look of alarm. Zara motioned for Max to wait while she checked the peephole. Standing outside were two men in dark suits, looking every bit the part of government agents. Zara stepped back, her face set in determination. "They've come," she whispered. "Remember, don't let on that we know who they really are. We can use their guise as government officials to our advantage." Max opened the door cautiously, feigning ignorance. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. "Good morning, sir. We're with the government, conducting routine checks on unregistered technological activities in this area," one of the men explained, flashing a badge that looked convincingly official but was likely a forgery. "We need to inspect your apartment for any unauthorized devices." "National security concerns," the other agent added, his gaze sweeping past Max into the apartment. Max hesitated, giving Zara a subtle glance. She nodded slightly, and he stepped aside. "Of course, come in. We have nothing to hide." As the agents entered, Zara greeted them with a calm demeanor. "We are just working on some environmental projects for the community. All local, nothing more." The agents nodded, but their eyes were sharp, missing nothing as they began to inspect the apartment. Zara and Max exchanged a discreet look, their earlier preparations making them ready to act at a moment's notice. While one agent was distracted by the equipment for the community project, the other focused on the more sophisticated alien technology discreetly tucked away. It was a moment of tense uncertainty, as Max and Zara anticipated their discovery. However, just as the situation seemed about to escalate, their luck held. The agent examining the alien tech was called away by his partner, who whispered something urgent into his ear. Both agents abruptly left, stating they would return to follow up. As soon as they were gone, Max and Zara grabbed their already packed bags. "They know, Zara. It's only a matter of time before they come back, and they won't be alone," Max said, his voice urgent. "We need to leave now, while we can," Zara agreed, her expression grave. They quickly left the apartment, taking a back route to avoid being seen from the street. They headed for the bus station, where they could catch a ride to the outskirts of the city. Every shadow and every passing car seemed a potential threat, but they reached the station without incident. Once on the bus, Zara and Max sat close, speaking little as they both watched for anyone following them. The tension only began to ease as the cityscape gave way to rolling hills and sparse population. Arriving at Casey's rural property, they were met with a mixture of concern and curiosity. Max quickly explained the situation, omitting the specifics of Zara's origin but stressing the danger. Casey, a robust woman in her late 30s with a streak of rebellion, nodded understandingly. "You can stay as long as you need. This place is safe, and I've got your back," she assured them, leading them to a small, cozy cabin hidden among the trees. As night fell, Max and Zara settled into the unexpected refuge, grateful for the safety it offered. But the respite was temporary, they knew the agents would eventually trace them here. For now, they needed to plan their next move carefully, aware that their choices would determine not only their futures but possibly the engagement of Earth with the Galactic Council. In the relative safety of Casey's rural cabin, Max and Zara spent the following days devising a plan. They needed to find a way to communicate with Zara's allies without alerting the Galactic Council's agents, who were undoubtedly still on their trail. Casey's cabin, equipped with old-school radio equipment and surrounded by dense woodland, provided the perfect cover from the high-tech surveillance tools likely employed by the Council. Zara, with her advanced understanding of technology, began modifying Casey's equipment to create a secure, encrypted communication channel. "Max, Casey, I believe I can modify these radio waves to create a pattern unrecognized by standard detection systems. It will camouflage our transmissions as background noise," Zara explained, her fingers deftly adjusting components. Max watched, impressed by her skill. "And you think this will reach your allies?" "It should. The range will be limited to this galaxy, but it will suffice for contacting those who can relay the message discreetly, Zara replied, her face set with determination. Casey, who had been listening intently, chimed in, "What's the message, though? What are you planning to tell them?" Zara paused, considering her words carefully. "I need to inform them about the Council's reach extending to Earth. They must know that their activities here are not as clandestine as they believe. Additionally, I want to rally support for a more open resistance. We've been too cautious, it's time to take a stand." Max nodded, understanding the risk she was willing to take. "And how can we help? What's our part in this?" Zara looked between Max and Casey, her eyes grateful. "I will handle the transmission. I need you two to help ensure our physical security here. Any unusual activity must be noted and managed. Casey, your knowledge of this terrain will be invaluable." Casey grinned, a spark in her eyes. "You got it. I know every nook and cranny of these woods. Anyone comes snooping around, will know about it." With roles assigned, they set to work. Zara spent hours each day at the radio, adjusting frequencies and sending short bursts of data during the least likely times for surveillance. Max and Casey kept watch, using binoculars and night vision goggles to monitor the area. After several tense days, Zara received a faint, crackling response. Her allies had received the message. They were shocked by the news but rallied to her cause, promising to spread the word discreetly among the resistance networks. Encouraged by this small victory, Max proposed the next part of their plan. "Zara, what if we tried to expose the Galactic Council's activities to the public? If people on Earth knew what was happening, it could pressure them to back off." Zara considered this, tapping her lip thoughtfully. "It's risky. The Council could retaliate against you, against Earth. But it's not just about us anymore," Max argued, his voice passionate. "It's about standing up to them, showing that we're not afraid. And I think we have the perfect opportunity coming up." He explained that a local environmental conference was scheduled for the following week. It was a modest event, but it would be attended by several influential activists and a few minor government officials. If they could present evidence of the Council's interference on Earth, it might just spark the necessary interest and concern. Zara agreed, albeit hesitantly. "We'll need irrefutable proof. I can prepare data and images, maybe even some of my technology as evidence. It needs to be compelling enough to overcome skepticism." Max smiled, inspired by her agreement. "We'll make it happen. Let's get everything ready." The next several days were a blur of preparation. Zara prepared a detailed presentation, including images of her planet and technology that clearly did not originate from Earth. She also included intercepted communications from the Council that hinted at their manipulative policies and actions. Max worked on setting up their appearance at the conference, using his contacts in the tech community to secure a spot on the agenda. He framed their presentation as a discussion on advanced environmental technology to avoid immediate suspicion. Casey bolstered their security, setting up traps and surveillance around the cabin and planning their route to and from the conference to avoid any potential tails. As the day of the conference approached, the trio reviewed their plan meticulously. They would drive to the city the morning of the presentation, set up their equipment discreetly, and after their presentation, leave immediately to avoid confrontation. "Are we ready for this?" Max asked, looking between Zara and Casey. Zara nodded, her expression resolute. "As ready as we'll ever be. It's time to bring the truth to light." Casey clapped them both on the back. "Let's show them what we're made of." Earth and Raxacoric, united in resistance. With everything in place, they packed their equipment and prepared to leave at dawn. The weight of what they were about to undertake hung heavily on them, but there was a sense of hope too. They were no longer just fugitives, they were messengers of truth, about to challenge a galactic power. As they loaded the last of their gear into the vehicle, the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting long shadows and bathing their determined faces in a soft, promising light. The day of the environmental conference dawned clear and cool, a brisk wind sweeping across the city as Max, Zara, and Casey prepared to unveil the truth about the Galactic Council's clandestine activities on Earth. The weight of their mission was palpable as they drove into the city, the car packed with not just high-tech alien equipment for the presentation but also with a thick cloak of anticipation and concern about the outcomes of the day. Upon arrival at the venue, a modest community center that was buzzing with activity and green banners, they kept a low profile. Max, who had orchestrated their participation, led the way, checking in at the registration desk under the guise of presenting innovative environmental technology. Zara, her appearance slightly altered to look more human, less glow, more matte, kept her head down, her nerves hidden beneath a calm exterior. Casey, ever vigilant, surveyed the perimeter, noting all exits and keeping an eye on the attendees, watching for anyone who might look out of place or overly interested in their small group. Her hand rested discreetly on a small device in her pocket, a makeshift alarm system connected to their safe house, just in case. As the conference progressed, the trio set up their equipment in the corner of the main hall, which was filled with booths displaying everything from solar panel innovations to sustainable urban farming models. Max handled the technical setup, connecting Zara's alien devices to the presentation system while ensuring their origin was not blatantly obvious. Zara, meanwhile, rehearsed her part of the talk in her head. She would need to be persuasive and clear, presenting her evidence in such a way that it seemed both credible and urgent without causing panic. She had practiced her explanations, her justifications for why these revelations mattered not just to her, but to Earth as well. Finally, it was their turn to present. The room was moderately filled, a mixture of local environmentalists, a few academics, and community leaders, all eager to hear about the next big thing in ecological technology. Max introduced their presentation with a calm confidence he didn't quite feel. Today, we're going to show you some groundbreaking environmental monitoring and repair technologies that could significantly change our approach to planetary sustainability. Zara took over smoothly, her voice steady. The technology we're discussing has been developed through interstellar cooperative initiatives. She clicked the remote and images of Earth's polluted landscapes filled the screen, followed by diagrams of advanced machines capable of purifying water and air on a massive scale. As she presented the technology, cleverly omitting exactly how she came by it, the audience was captivated. Questions began to pour in, ranging from the technical specifications to the potential for implementation. Zara answered each carefully, weaving in her narrative about the need for transparency in global environmental efforts and subtly hinting at external threats to such initiatives. Then, carefully, she shifted the presentation to the core of their message, revealing intercepted messages and images that suggested a broader manipulation of environmental policies by unseen interstellar influences, the Galactic Council. The reaction was mixed. A murmur ran through the room, some attendees looked skeptical, others concerned, and a few were nodding, their suspicions of higher manipulative powers seemingly confirmed. Max jumped back in. We must consider the possibility that our planet is not just a victim of its own mismanagement but also of exploitation by advanced entities with their own agendas. As they concluded, a heated Q&A session ensued. While many were intrigued and alarmed by the implications of their revelations, a few expressed disbelief, dismissing their claims as too fantastical. The trio remained composed, answering questions with rehearsed precision, stressing the importance of vigilance and international cooperation in verifying and addressing these threats. As the session ended, Casey, who had been quietly monitoring the crowd, noticed a couple of men in suits who didn't quite fit the environmentalist mold. Their interest during the presentation had been keen, almost analytical. She discreetly informed Max, who nodded, signaling it was time to leave. They packed up quickly, avoiding lingering conversations. As they exited the hall, the suspicious men followed. Casey led Max and Zara through a pre-planned escape route, winding through the back corridors of the center and out through a maintenance exit. Once outside, they dashed to their parked vehicle, hidden out of immediate sight behind the building. They drove away just as the men emerged from the building, looking around, clearly searching for them. As they put distance between themselves and the conference center, the adrenaline of the moment began to subside, replaced by an urgent need to plan their next steps. We did it, we got the word out. But those guys, they were definitely not there for the ecotech, Max said, keeping his eyes on the rearview mirror. Zara, checking her device for any incoming messages from her allies, nodded. We may have stirred a hornet's nest. But awareness is the first step to action. Our allies will spread the word further. Casey, driving with practiced calm, chimed in, we need to lay low for a while, see what kind of ripple we've caused. They agreed to return to Casey's safe house, regroup, and monitor the reaction from both Earth's environmental community and the Galactic Council's operatives. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were united in their cause, ready to face whatever challenges their revelations might bring. As the dust settled on their daring presentation, Max, Zara, and Casey returned to the relative safety of the rural cabin, their minds racing with the potential repercussions of their actions. They knew they had opened a Pandora's box, one that could not be closed without significant consequences. Over the next few days, the trio kept a low profile, monitoring online forums and news outlets for any sign that their message was spreading. While there was an initial flurry of speculative articles and a buzz on social media, the mainstream reaction was one of skepticism. Yet, in the more private channels and encrypted messages, there was a surge of activity. Zara's allies were busy disseminating the information, ensuring it reached the right hands without attracting unwanted attention from the Galactic Council. But their respite was short-lived. One morning, as Casey was scanning their perimeter with her binoculars, she noticed unusual movement in the woods. She watched, breath held, as several figures, stealthily and with clear purpose, moved towards their cabin. We've got company, she muttered, reaching for her walkie-talkie to alert Max and Zara inside. Max and Zara were in the middle of a heated discussion about their next steps when Casey's voice crackled through the speaker. Max, Zara, gear up. We have incoming, looks like Galactic Council or their lackeys. Without hesitation, Zara accessed her hidden cache of alien tech, pulling out small, potent defense gadgets. Max checked the firearms they had reluctantly decided to keep on hand, a last resort they hoped never to use. They positioned themselves at strategic points, covering the cabin's entrances. As the intruders approached, it was clear they were not ordinary agents, their movements were too disciplined, too silent. Zara recognized the tactics and equipment, they were elite forces, sent specifically to retrieve or eliminate her. Max peered through a gap in the curtains. Looks like 4, maybe 5 of them. Heavily armed. Zara, her face a mask of resolve, nodded. I can handle them if they breach, but our priority is to avoid capture. We must be ready to evacuate. Casey, ever the tactician, had already prepared a back route for escape. There's an old logging trail at the back. It's overgrown, but it leads down to a ravine. We can cover our tracks there. Their plan was abruptly interrupted as the front door shuddered under the impact of a breaching tool. Here we go, Max whispered, signaling Zara and Casey to brace themselves. The door gave way with a loud crash, and the first agent stepped through, only to be met with a burst of energy from one of Zara's devices. The agent was thrown back, incapacitated but not lethally injured. Zara's technology was designed to disable, not kill, reflecting her people's ethos of minimizing harm. However, the remaining agents were quick to adapt, throwing in smoke grenades to obscure their entry. The cabin filled with a dense, disorienting fog. Max coughed, trying to keep his eyes on the entrance, but the visibility was near zero. Using her enhanced senses, Zara navigated through the smoke, dispatching 2 more agents with non-lethal force. Her movements were a blur, each action precise and effective. Casey covered the back, ensuring no one could flank them. She called out, "Back is clear, we need to move now." Grabbing their essential gear, they used the smoke as cover to slip out through the back door. The overgrown trail was rough and uneven, making their escape slow, but the dense foliage helped mask their movements from any pursuers. As they reached the ravine, Max looked back, noting with relief that there seemed to be no immediate pursuit. "Do you think we lost them?" Zara, who was scanning their surroundings with a small handheld device, nodded cautiously. "For now, but they will regroup and come after us again. We need to keep moving and find a more secure location." Casey, checking her map, suggested, "There's an old hunter's cabin about 3 miles from here. It's abandoned but should offer some shelter while we figure out our next move." With no better option, they pressed on, the physical strain of their rapid escape compounded by the psychological stress of their situation. Each step took them further from the life they had known, deeper into a conflict that spanned galaxies. As night began to fall, they reached the hunter's cabin. It was dilapidated and dusty, but it provided a temporary haven from their pursuers. Here, they could rest, reassess their dwindling options, and plan their next move. Max, looking at both Zara and Casey, realized just how much they had all sacrificed. "We can't keep running forever. We need a long-term plan." Zara agreed, her expression grim. "The Council will not stop. We have exposed them, and now they are a direct threat not just to me, but to Earth. We need to think bigger." Casey nodded, pulling up a chair. "Then let's start planning. We've got a long night ahead of us." Together, they began to craft a new strategy, one that would take them beyond mere survival. They were no longer just fugitives, they were part of a burgeoning resistance, ready to challenge the Galactic Council and protect their newfound home at all costs. Under the dim light of the old hunter's cabin, the trio sat huddled around a rickety table, maps and various devices spread out before them. Their faces were etched with fatigue, but their eyes burned with a resolve that had been forged in the fires of their recent trials. They had been on the run, but now it was time to turn the tables. Zara, her voice steady despite the weight of their circumstances, outlined their strategic pivot. "We've been reactive so far, always a step behind the Galactic Council's agents. It's time we change that. We need allies, and we need to go public on a larger scale." Max nodded in agreement, his mind racing through possible contacts and platforms that could help amplify their cause. "We have the evidence and the technology to prove our claims. If we can get the mainstream media and influential environmental groups on our side, we can create a movement that even the Council can't suppress." Casey, who had been scanning their perimeter with a night vision scope, set it down and turned to them. "We'll need a secure base of operations, though. Somewhere off the grid but still connected enough to manage communications and coordinate with our allies." Zara pulled up a digital map on her device, her fingers tracing potential locations that met their criteria. "There are a few abandoned industrial sites that could serve our needs. They're remote enough to give us cover but close enough to urban centers for necessary engagements." The discussion went on deep into the night, each member of the group bringing their unique skills and perspectives to the planning table. By dawn, they had a rough plan in place. It was ambitious, daring even, but it was their best shot at not just surviving but also striking a decisive blow against the Galactic Council's secretive manipulations. Over the next few weeks, they set their plan into motion. Max used his tech contacts to secure equipment and anonymous communications channels. Casey leveraged her survival skills to fortify their new base, an abandoned factory surrounded by dense forest. Zara worked on adapting her technology for human use, making it more palatable and less alien to potential Earth allies. As they built up their defenses and capabilities, Zara reached out through secure channels to her allies across the galaxy. The news of their resistance was spreading, sparking hope and more open defiance against the Council in other systems. Earth, with its burgeoning environmental movement and technological innovation, became a beacon of resistance. The turning point came when Max managed to secure a clandestine meeting with a group of influential environmental activists and sympathetic journalists. The meeting, held in an undisclosed location, was charged with cautious optimism. Zara presented her case with compelling evidence and clear examples of the Council's interference, not just on Earth but in other parts of the galaxy where ecological devastation had been ignored or exacerbated by the Council's policies. The journalists were skeptical at first but became more convinced as Zara demonstrated her technology and shared intercepted communications. The activists, for their part, were galvanized by the revelation that their planet was being manipulated by external forces. They pledged to help spread the word, using their networks and platforms to expose the truth. With the groundwork laid, the story began to break. First as a trickle, then as a flood. Articles, blog posts, and even a few daring broadcasts painted a picture of a galaxy-wide struggle against a shadowy autocratic entity. Earth was no longer an isolated backwater in the cosmic sense but a front line in a much larger battle for freedom and transparency. As public awareness grew, so did public outrage. Protests sprang up in cities around the world, not just against environmental exploitation but also against galactic interference. Governments, forced by their constituents, began to take the threat seriously, convening emergency sessions to discuss defensive measures and potential alliances with other threatened planets. Amidst this whirlwind of activity, Max, Zara, and Casey watched from their hidden sanctuary, their initial mission growing into something neither of them had anticipated. They had started as a small group of fugitives and had become leaders in a galactic cause. "We've started something that we can't stop. And that we can't control," Max said one evening as they watched news feeds showing massive rallies on the streets of major cities. Zara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the flames of a nearby fire. "We never controlled it, Max. We just sparked the flame. It's up to all of us, together, to keep it burning and to use it to light the dark places that the Council wants to keep hidden." Casey clapped them both on the shoulders. "From what I've seen, you two are just the kind to keep fanning those flames." The Council messed with the wrong planet. As they prepared for the next phase of their ongoing struggle, the bond between them solidified further. They were no longer just comrades bound by circumstance, they were a family, forged in the crucible of resistance. Their journey had changed them, just as it was changing the world. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and challenges, but they faced it together, committed to their cause and to each other, come what may. And so, with determination and hope, they turned their faces to the future, ready to defend their home and to fight for the freedom of worlds beyond their own. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For more exciting HFY stories. Your support means the world to us. And make sure to tap the bell icon, so you never miss an update. Stay tuned for our next adventure, and until then, keep exploring the stars. See you in the next video.